And we're waiting for one more person, but they're stuck in traffic. There's a festival apparently, so we're waiting for Gauri Shinde. She'll be joining us shortly. Okay, Sonali, so let's start with you. First up, how did Share the Load movement start? What urged Ariel to be the brand to speak about gender disparity at home?
That's a great question. Firstly, a good evening to all of you, and thank you for taking the time to come to this event. Actually, Ariel is a brand which has always been associated with progress. Actually, very early in the 90s when it was launched. Very early when it was launched in the 90s, early 90s, it was the first laundry brand which actually featured husbands doing laundry. And we always know the product. The product is great. And with Ariel, actually, anybody can get really great laundry results, right? Whether it's your son, it's your husband. But what we really thought was in today's world, brands have come a little bit further than just about selling the product and the product benefit. Brands such as Ariel have a huge influence on the society. And they need to be, I think it's a moral obligation almost, when you are that powerful or influential as a brand, to be a force for good, to make a change in the society and use that influence to actually make a change. So that spirit is what actually got Ariel to start from the laundry, but really take the conversation closer home and talk about disparity at home.
Wonderful, wonderful job done there. And I think the ad film, which we will see a little later in the course of the evening, speaks about something which is so significant. And the fact that brands can put their might behind creating social change is so significant. Josie, next question for you. Would you throw some deeper light on the issue of conditioning and prejudice that Sonali spoke about? What has the Share the Load journey been like?
In terms of what, the perspective, or what do you mean by?
So let me rephrase that. How did this idea spring to your mind? What started this? What triggered this in you?
Okay, great. So I don't work alone. I work with a wonderful team who's sitting there. I work with amazing people like Sonali. Yeah, and the beautiful thing about our process is that normally you say in an ad agency, it's about, oh, the client gave you a brief. So it's not about that. It's about a briefing, which is that you don't just say some transactional brief. It's a sort of circular process of discussion. Okay, so that's where it began in 2015. And we always say that content is king, but context is King Kong. Yeah? So for us, it was about the context. And there was that moment in time when we felt that a brand, as Sonali said, could make a difference. And we found this very interesting sort of fact or research point, which said that Indian men were probably among the lowest in helping out in household chores. And we said, maybe we guys as a brand could help make a difference, because laundry, that's the easiest way to start. And so we did this campaign which said, why is laundry only a woman's job? So it was a question. It was a question that was open for debate. Because who are we to say this is it? We said, let's create a platform for the world to exchange notes. And when we did that, we got an incredible response, and we knew we had touched something deep.
Wow. Massive research went into it as well.
Yes,
yeah. Taking off from what Josie was saying, Raj, sorry, I think Gauri is already here.
Hey, wow.
Please put your hands together for Gauri Shinde. Talented director. Bad traffic, huh?
No, actually I was doing my laundry.
Okay, so we were discussing Share the Load campaign, and I was just asking Raj that coming from where Josie left off, do you think that we all have this game face on most of the time? We all pretend to be cool and very gender neutral or gender agnostic. Do you think that within our metro society this still persists? How much of this is a reality?
It does. I'm pretty sure of that. Though, as I was telling you earlier, it's changing. It's definitely changing, but I think it is still a long way to go. I would like to actually men present here. आप में से कितने लोग हैं जो अपने घर के काम में help करते हैं? Honestly बताना. हाँ? See, it's changing. That's what I said. और आपके दोस्त लोग सब करते हैं? नहीं, बहुत लोग हैं जो नहीं करते हैं ना. उनको बोलिए प्लीज़ ये ऐड देखें, है ना? और स्प्रेड करें. इस कॉज को बहुत ज़रूरी है. But yeah, coming back to your question, it is changing, but I think it's still a long way to go because I travel so much. We both travel so much. We go to a lot of small towns, and also I believe like India lives, in its small towns. That's where the majority population live, and that's where the change also has to start. And I'm very thankful to PNG and Ariel that you guys are doing this campaign, and it's a great initiative, and we both are really proud and happy to be a part of it in some way or the other. Because I've been seeing it since like my childhood, not in my house, because my mother was somebody who believed in equality. But my friend's place, I come from Gurgaon, it's a small town. I've seen patriarchal society, and I used to feel very bad since I was a kid. But I'm glad there are people like you who are taking that initiative to change people's perception and people's thinking. It all actually comes down to conditioning. The way we've been conditioned. And it all starts at your own house, in your own house. So things has to start changing from there. And I'm very, very hopeful that with this campaign, people will start changing their thought process.
Yep, well put. So since Ariel has been working on this idea on a Share the Load theme for a while, how far do you think the change has come from 2015 when you first launched the initiative?
Yeah, actually we started the first film in around 2014-15, and we actually at that time we did a survey, as Josie pointed out, and what we wanted to assess is what is the social sentiment, what's really happening out there. So we went to 4 cities. We had Nielsen, actually not we, but we commissioned a survey from Nielsen. They went and they checked that 79% of the men then thought that household chores were only a woman's job. So 79% आदमी जो हैं वो ये ऐसे सोचते थे कि घर का काम सिर्फ औरतों का काम है. उस समय 2014 में जब ये हमने सर्वे कराया था नीलसन से, ये हमने रिपीट कराया. We repeated this survey in 2016. At that time the number was 63%, and we did it right now, and the number of men who thought that laundry is only a woman's chore is actually now 52%. So you can see there is a significant change, right? Significant change. I'm very happy that there is a campaign like this, and there have been many others who've joined actually the cause. We're not now the only brand, we started it, but there are many others who've joined this cause, and it has made a change. It's a slow change. Even now we are clapping, but imagine 52% of the men in India still think that laundry is only a woman's job. So there's a lot more that we have to really accomplish going forward.
Yeah. Josie, why do men evade household chores? Why?
It's sounding like very personal, huh? The way you said it. Yeah? Can you hear me without a mic? Wow.
Josie, why? Why do men evade household chores? You answer on behalf of all the men today.
Yeah, with bowed head and humble sort of vibes. Well, I mean, it's really something that we began in 2016. When we spoke about 2015-14, it was really stating the condition. And then what we did was we looked at the root cause. And the root cause was the conditioning, like where we're coming from. And you realize that you're coming from everything that you see in your home. And what we try to do with both what we did in 2016 and today is revisit that conditioning and see that with that awareness of that conditioning, can we change things? Can we rearrange things? Can we point to that conditioning? Create some enlightenment and revelation in the people who are responsible, maybe, in their own way, not meaning to hurt anyone, and say, listen, there's another way to do it. So it's really that. So it's deep-rooted in our conditioning, which is over several centuries. And slowly, PNG is trying to change that. Yeah, so that's really what it is. I don't know. Maybe I should be saying I rather than we. God knows.
No, very well spoken. Gauri, what do you think is the implication of the Share the Load movement, and what happens when men don't share the load, or we don't share the load?
First is, your question was, what are the implications of if we share the load, right? If we don't share the load.
No, sorry, my
Yeah,
question is,
that's-
my question is, what are the implications of the movement, you think?
Correct. I think it's a very positive, I mean, it is having a positive impact, and that's what the intention was, and that's what it should be. And I think it is, and I think even men react very positively to something like this. I mean, there are two men right here, and I'm sure it's not just lip service, you'll believe in this.
मेरा तो blood group भी B positive है.
Yeah. So, no, I think just as, and it was such a beautiful insight, and let me go back to where I was brought in, and when I was like so struck by this thought, and it was actually an eye-opener that, oh my God, this is the root cause, and it is the root solution also, is to tackle where it is. It's not about targeting men directly, but to any kind of change requires a sort of gentle approach. People don't really respond well to a high-handed, heavy-handed, yeah, kind of, or some kind of preaching in that sense. So this really hit home, you know, and it has hit some chord, and it's about, like I'm repeating that it's not about targeting men, but it's targeting us as a whole, both the genders, that where we are probably getting it wrong, and that conditioning we are a product of our conditioning, and at some point we need to question that status quo. Like, this is not really working for most parties, and for women it is not. And I think that is what the biggest impact is. As the mothers are enabling their women, their daughters, to actually be independent and ambitious, same time, what the movement is trying to say is enable the men too. It cannot be this lopsided growth where only the women move forward, but how will they move forward if this part doesn't move forward as well? So I think it's a very important movement.
I think what was really interesting, or maybe I'll save that for when people have seen the film, and we'll discuss that in a bit. Raj, Patra, Patra, particularly you. I know you're very outspoken and you will speak your mind. And Raj
And
is
hearts.
now and heart. And Raj is now looking a little worried, and he's like, "Kya puchne wali hai ye Patra se?" No, so we live in the same building, or used to anyway. So we're friends. So I can ask this. You know, amongst our circle of friends and people, isn't there this subtle patriarchy, a subtle idea of, you know, sort of, we were discussing this earlier, that particularly at the dining table, you know, you see that men go and take their seats and women are quickly running around and serving, bringing you hot rotis and, you know, "Acha kya khayenge, dal khayenge, ye khayenge, wo khayenge," whatever. So that idea of patriarchy, do you see it around you yourself, in your circle of friends, which seemingly from the outside are cool and evolved on the level of gender?
So, Tiska, hi everyone. Good evening. I'll tell you where I come from. I'm from Meghalaya. So it is a matriarchal society. So initially when I had come to Mumbai, and back home, it's the food is heated, it's kept, you know. The clothes are being washed either by my mom or dad, which is not a rare sight at home. Papa also goes and serves dinner for us. Once I got here, like that's about 8-10 years back, it's the small things that I saw at my friends, my college friends' home, that, you know, everybody is seated on the table, including me, my friends, their mom, their dads. And auntie's not sitting because she has to serve us food, she has to make rotis for us, and she would be the last one to eat. So that was a bit weird, and that's when it struck me that there is a disparity. And I don't know, things hasn't changed as yet, because, you know, when we go out, you'll see that, you know, our friends are serving us food first, and they are the last one to eat. Yeah.
interesting, huh? So Meghalaya is a matriarchal
Matriarchal
society.
yes.
How lovely.
But
वहाँ शादी करके लड़के घर जाते हैं.
yeah.
Yeah, लड़की के.
Really?
Is it true?
Yeah. And
okay,
what's funny is I come from a matriarchal society. I found a boyfriend who's from Haryana. And he is everything that we don't hear about. He's the one heating up food for me. When our maid is not coming, Raj is mostly, sweeping the house. And I'm not exaggerating. Or he's ironing clothes for me. Thank you.
Wow.
You also do a lot of things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It shouldn't be a rare thing. This should be
Shouldn't
how
be.
it
That's
is,
how the world
right?
should be, you know.
That's how
Yeah,
it should be. That's how it should be. Okay, I think we should hold up the statistics, and this is our photo op number 1. So quick question, Sonali. What triggered Share the Load 3.0?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting. Josie talked about actually this conversation that he had. It's about conditioning, right? And as we looked at the kinds of conditioning there are, people, the kids, when they're growing up, they really follow what they see. And we started the conversation last year where we talked about how looking at what was happening at his daughter's place, the father realized how he had conditioned actually things at home because he wasn't sharing the load. And it was self-realization, right? The thing that we realized actually was that the same was happening as in with sons, that our mothers, when they are looking at what you expect out of a son, they have a lot of things that they expect out of their daughters. So they say कि बेटी को बाहर जाना चाहिए, पढ़ना चाहिए, मैं बेटी को पढ़ाऊंगी, लिखाऊंगी, and that change has happened. But बेटे के लिए ऐसा होता है, बेटा बस पैदा हो जाओ, बस वही काफी है, right? It's almost कि बस उतना ही काफी है, and there's not that much of expectation on what you want to actually. Are you preparing your son for the daughters that you have raised, right? So what we see is, and it was a very interesting statistic that we saw, that 7 out of 10 women actually have had to step back from responsibilities at work, say something like a promotion, because they don't have the help at home that makes them confident that they can take that opportunity. And that's because we haven't reared our sons to be ready for the kind of daughters that we are raising. And that thought was what which sparked us, that this time the question that we must be asking of ourselves as a generation is, are we setting the right expectations also for our sons to be ready for the daughters that we are raising?
Wonderfully put. So wonderfully put. On that note, shall we see this much talked about, much loved film? You know what struck me watching it for the second or third time this evening is that in a very interesting way the film is talking about the fact that you're elevating the son to reach the level of a daughter, and so you're not actually showing household work down. You're not saying, oh my God, it's a horrible, nasty thing to do, and so one of us has to do it, and so who's going to do it? It's more the idea that it's our work, it's our pride, it's looking after ourselves, and sons should be elevated to the level of being able to look after themselves. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful, subtle idea that you're saying, that we've not raised you to that level to be like a daughter, which is amazing. Okay, Gauri, let's start with you. You've always shown a very unique perspective of a woman through your films. What did you think about this little gem of an ad film?
What did I think about it? like I said earlier, like when Josie and his team and Hemant and Aarti, yeah, all they came to meet me and tell me this idea. I was blown. I was like, what a wonderful thought, and so delicately and so nuanced. You know, I mean, yes, thought is one thing, and to actually sort of narrate it and screenplay it in this fashion was beautiful. I mean, to say something so powerful in such a gentle way, and to actually tap such a key insight. I mean, I was blown, and I had to do it, and I wanted to do it, and hopefully they're happy with.
And you know, we took our time, but she waited. She's a busy director, but she said, I give you time. And she gave us that time. Thank you.
That's not.
It is truly, truly a very, very artistic piece of work. Very, very nice. As the creative mind behind this on the level of scripting, etc., from a male perspective, what were the various things that went in from your side into the making of this film?
Yeah, that's a great question. For us, one of the most sensitive points was that change point. How do we look at the son? How do we look at that relationship? You know, the son is a victim of conditioning. He's not a villain. So we had to traverse that in a way that was inclusive. We didn't want to put anyone off. This was not about divisionary forces. This was not us versus them. It's recognizing what is. And that sensitivity, I think, is what Gauri brought in. And for us, that change point was critical because we didn't want to be heavy-handed, sharp, black and white. Life is not black and white. There's a roundedness that we captured, and Gauri did that.
Excellent. On that note, we have a wonderful surprise for all of us. The film that launched on the 24th of Jan 2019, that's only 2 weeks ago, has garnered a massive, massive response in the number of views that it has got. And so let's quickly unveil the cupboard that hides the number of views. Just one or two.
Yeah. This is after, right? Oh, okay. No, I think they want the two of you and then maybe all of them. Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Come, Gauri. Come in.